Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 4 in my 2016 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be using this super cute stamp set called Frozen Friends by Newton's Nook, as well as the Snow and Cocoa 6x6 by Crate Paper. And I'm going to be coloring the image in with my Copic markers today, and I'm starting out with the BG10 and the BG11. And I'm actually using the BG11 first, so I'm just laying in my dark shadows, and then I'm going to take the BG10 and do a wash right over that and kind of blend that in. And it's going to look pretty strong right now, but don't worry, we're going to soften that up a little bit. The colors are going to fade a bit as they soak and absorb into the paper, but also we're going to take our colorless blender and just smooth that out by adding a really heavy wash right over top of the edge of the BG10, and that's going to push back those blues so we get that really nice frosty shadow towards the back of their bodies. And you can see how that turned out after I let it dry just a few seconds. So now I'm grabbing my R20 and I'm adding a bit of a rosy cheek to each of my snowmen. And to knock that back so it's not quite so bright, I'm going to color right over top of it with my BG10. I'm going to use my W5 to just color in the little coal dots on their bellies. And I'll add just a touch of W7 for some shading on those. I'm using the YR23 for their little carrot noses. It's a bit more of a golden yellowy orange, but it's going to match my pattern paper. And I actually wanted to paper piece their scarves, so I'm just ripping off the tops of 2 of the pattern papers. They just had these different little borders at the top. And I'm going to stamp each of the scarves on one of those, using my Memento Tuxedo Black. So I'm using this pale pink crosshatch design for the smaller of the snowmen. And then I'm going to grab this little stripy piece and use that for the larger snowman. Just flipping it around until I get the colors that I want to show up on there. And then I actually decided that there was too much white on that one, so I decided to use the other half. And I'll just stamp that out again, and I'm happier with the colors that I picked up on that one, so I'll just go ahead and fussy cut those out with my Cutter Bee detail scissors. And to get the smoothest cut, what I do is I just hold my scissors as upright as possible and then move the paper rather than the scissors and cut right up to that black line. And then I'm going to take my Memento marker. This is the same black ink that I used to stamp the images. And I'm just going to line the edges of that paper with a little bit of a black border so that none of the white core of the paper shows through. And that's just going to make them look really flush with the image. And to glue those down, I'm going to use a Martha Stewart fine tip glue pen. Just going to put down a coat of that right where I want this scarf to go, and then I'll just carefully press that down over top and line up the black lines. And then I'm just going to do the same with the other scarf. And then to make it seem like part of the image, I'm going to grab a W3 marker and just add a little bit of shading onto both of those scarves. And then I'll just blend that out with the W00. And then I'm going to grab my Memento dual tip marker again, and I actually want the fine point of that, and I'm just going to draw in a little snowbank. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of the BG11 and BG10 right underneath those snowmen and all along the top edge of that snowbank. And I'm just going to blend that out really well with the BG10. And then I'm going to grab my colorless blender and I'm going to blend that out even further using the chisel end of that, just so I can put down a lot of that colorless blender at once. And then I'm going to let that dry. And now I'm going to grab my Pretty Pink Posh Stitch Duo 1 die, and I'm just going to line that up right over top of my snowman. And then I'm going to tape that in place with a little bit of post-it tape and run that through my Cuttlebug. And then I've got a piece of snow cone cardstock from MFT, and I'm going to run that through my Cuttlebug with the Let It Snow embossing folder from Embossalicious. And then I'm going to use that same die from Pretty Pink Posh and just die cut that out as well. And hopefully you can see that pretty snowflake design on the background. And now I'm just going to fussy cut out that little scene there, just the same as I did with the scarves earlier, just trimming them out with a small white border. And I apologize I didn't get that all on camera, but I had to get pretty close to it to be able to cut out the details of their little twig hands. But that's how these pieces are going to fit together. But before I glue that down, I need to stamp my sentiment. So I'm grabbing some Lawn Fawn plastic flamingo ink, and I'm going to stamp out my sentiment that reads Cold Twigs, Warm Hearts, which I thought was really sweet. So I'm just going to grab some Tombow Mono and go ahead and glue that down. I thought about popping it up with Dimension, but it was a little bit tricky with their tiny little hands, and they're still going to have a little bit of dimension because of that embossed snowflake pattern. It's going to raise up this panel just a little bit. So I'm going to put a acrylic block down on top to let that dry. And then I die cut a little reinforcer with the MFT Blueprints 29 die. And I'm just going to attach that right up to the top of my tag. And I have this gray and white lawn trimmings twine from Lawn Fawn. So I'm going to cut a piece of that off and just tie a little bow in my hands. Adjust those bows so that they're the way that I want them. And then I'm going to grab my Ranger Multimedia Mat and just secure that down to my tag. And then we can just set that aside and move on to our card base. So I'm using another piece of the MFT Snow Cone, and then I've cut down 2 pattern papers from that Snow and Cocoa 6x6, and I'm just going to glue those together at an angle. The pink one is trimmed down to 4 by 5 1/4, and then the one with the houses and trees and birds is cut down just 1/4 inch shorter on each end. And then I'm going to take some foam tape and pop up my focal panel. I have these sequins from WOW. They have an assortment of white and kind of holographic snowflakes. So I'm taking 3 of the silver holographic ones, and I'm going to add that to my focal panel with some Ranger Multimedia Mat and my pick-me-up tool, which is really useful for putting these down and keeping your fingers out of the glue. These will add a nice little splash of sparkle to the card. And then I also grabbed a couple of pearlized clear sequins out of this package from Lucy's Little Things. This is the Snowdrift collection, and I'm just adhering those down with my Ranger Multimedia Mat as well. And as a final finishing touch, I'm going to grab my Spectrum Noir clear glitter pen, and I'm just going to add a couple layers of that to the snowmen's scarves to give them some sparkle as well. And that is going to complete our card for today. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you can see all that sparkle on the camera. And if you missed my day 4 from last year, it's on the screen right now. You can go ahead and click the little video link and it'll take you right to it. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.